Good morning, y'all. I am Audrey Gale Hall. I'm your membership coordinator here at Emerson UU Church of Houston, Texas. Our beloved community of faith welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as together we build a better world. If you're joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome to you and invite you to fill out our visitor card. It's the yellow one out on the table outside the sanctuary, not outdoors, so that you can receive more information that way about our church. I'll reach out to you and fill you in on what's coming up and invite you to open house, which is today. I'll talk more about that after the service. Again, welcome to all. We are a church in many places. Some of us are here in the pews, but others are joining us from YouTube, from their living room, from their vacation spot. We have folks across time and space joining us here. We even record it and put it up on YouTube. And because of that, I want us to take a second to hold in our hearts, whether we're here online or in person, those who we can't see or know right now who are actually partaking in this service with us. Our world is a different one than early 2020, so our worship services have changed accordingly. One example of this is that we have choice in the pews about whether to mask or not, and how much distance to put between folks. We also have offering baskets at the front and back center of the sanctuary instead of passing the plate. And lastly, the addition of YouTube has allowed us to have social time after the service as well as before the service for folks who are here online. So our board trustee, Marilyn Rambo, is going to be leading that today. And folks who are tuning in online live can check the description of the YouTube live stream for that link. One reminder before we get started to silence your cell phones, please, so that we can really tune in to our prelude by pianist Sean Chen.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, the Interim Minister of this congregation. Our morning service is on the theme of courage. We will be joining with thousands of other UUs across the country as we explore this monthly Soul Matters theme with a special twist on Emerson in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. You belong here.
There is a Quiet Courage by the Reverend Gretchen Haley. There is a quiet courage in the choice to let go of the past, in the choice to be present in this new day, to live for this hour, this moment, and to believe in its possibility, to release the regrets, to stop the spinning stories of what was and is no longer, to accept this gift, to believe that we are worthy still of happiness, of ease, of delight, and hope, to believe we have all we need to heal already, and to receive this wholeness with ready hearts and open hands, saying only, "Thank you." Come, let us practice this surrender together, gathering up all the brave boldness we know can be found in our bones and blood if we will breathe together, knowing ourselves one part of this one life filled with mystery, creativity, and power, changing us, growing us, and calling us into partnership with all that is. Come, let us worship together. I don't need that, it's fine. And so it is that we light this chalice with the courage it takes to confront the past, to face our vulnerabilities, and to learn to tell a new story. And our opening hymn will be number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
Creation.
This morning, in our special Time for All Ages episode, I will be interviewing Ruthie, and our theme is on courage. Ruthie is a lover of cats, just so that you know a little bit about her. She has 2 of them at home, though if she had to choose what pet to have next, she would choose a dog. Now, Ruthie, I understand that there was an incident that happened on the playground that you would like to share with us about this morning. Can you tell us about it?
So I was stuck on the playground. It was very hot outside, and I yelled out so I could get some help to get off of the playground because I was stuck and I couldn't move forward or back.
You were on one of the pieces of playground equipment. So what happened when you called for help? Did you get any?
Yes, I had to call up 2 times, but after those 2 times, I think somebody came and helped me.
I think it might have been Katie, because she is the one that told me about this story. Does that sound right? Maybe somebody else came over too.
I think it was Katie, because Katie was the one I think was outside with me at that time, so when I yelled out, she came.
Yeah. How did you feel when you were stuck?
Scared, because I felt like I was going to fall and hurt myself real bad on the head.
Yeah. So we're talking about courage this morning. Do you think it took courage to ask for help when you were afraid?
I knew that I was going to need help, so really it was mostly, I did need courage, because it was a little bit when I first started, that soon happened.
Yeah. Soon after you started coming to Emerson? I think that's right. So do you think adults ever get afraid and ever need courage?
Yes, because I bet every adult always has something they're afraid about that's might happen. I know that my parents are afraid of losing me because I'm their only daughter or child. So that's why I bet that's why everybody has to is sometimes scared or needs courage.
So everyone gets afraid and everyone needs courage sometimes. And today we're going to continue with our worship service, learning about what it means to have courage in a faith community. I am so glad that people were there for you when you were stuck and afraid and needed some help. And I'm so glad that you had the courage to ask for the help that you needed. And also the courage to appear on this episode of Time for All Ages. Thank you, Ruthie. I believe we might have a stewardship message now. Is that correct? Do we have someone ready to share a testimonial today? No, we don't. Okay, we had a little miscommunication there. That's all right. So let's move ahead with our offering.
Giving out of what is our own can lead us into transformative action. Every month, we take up an offering not for ourselves or for our congregation, but to give out to our community as a collective expression of our faith and a way to live out our shared values. So this month, please give with a generous heart to support our October Share the Plate recipient, Juno's Hope. Juno's Hope is an organization helping dogs in need through sheltering, adoption, education, spay and neuter, and community outreach. Juno's wants to help build a community where people value animals and treat them with respect and kindness. And the remaining 25% of our offering goes to our ongoing commitment to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, feeding Houston's seniors. We have 3 ways to give. You can go to our webpage for online giving, especially if you're at home now, or you can put your offering in the baskets at the front or back of the church, or mail the check yourself. And before we head to our offertory music, I want to say that we do have someone ready to share a testimonial from the Stewardship Committee, because while we monthly collect an offering to give out, we're also in the middle of this drive to pull in more financial support for our community for the next year. So Larry, if you don't mind coming up now instead of earlier, I want to apologize because that was your time. But we'll hear from Larry, and in the meantime, y'all can feel free to make your offerings.
Good morning. Good morning. I am pleased to report that in just the first 10 days of our pledge drive, we have received over $164,000 in pledges, or over 25% of our total. It is important for everybody to get their pledges in. The board needs the information to continue its work, and almost as important, as soon as the pledges are in, you don't have to hear any more prompts. To encourage you to pledge timely and generously, a number of Emersonian members have additionally pledged funds towards the Emerson Endowment, conditioned upon the church reaching its total goal of $590,000. As you may already know, the endowment is in effect the church's savings account. It has been used and is currently being used for the ministerial search and the general transition. And over the years, it has been used for large unbudgeted expenses such as for the roof or air conditioning repairs. So once again, please turn in your pledge cards promptly and be as generous as possible. Thank you.
Please find a comfortable place to be or in your seats, and place your feet flat on the floor if you can, and if you will, so that you might feel grounded, more connected to the earth which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in. As together we enter into a time of meditation, followed by silence. It has been said that no one ever lights a lamp to cover it over with a basket, or put it down in the cellar or under the bed. No, we allow the light to shine forth from the lamp. Now imagine that you are that lamp, and your fear is that basket. What is it that you need to allow yourself to shine brightly? What is it that you need to allow others to see your light, to feel your warmth? How might you summon the courage to uncover yourself, to remove the basket of fear, to climb up from the cellar, to crawl out from under the bed, to show yourself your real, true, authentic self? What if I told you that you are loved, that you are cherished, that the world is less without you in it? What if you told yourself that you are loved, that you are cherished, that the world is less without you in it? What is it that you need to come out into the open? What is it that you need to gather your courage again and again and again? Now, let us enter into the silence together. Isn't it wonderful to hear the life of children? I love it. I love it. Amen, and blessed be.
This reading comes from Brené Brown. Courage is a heart word. The root of the word courage is cor, the Latin word for heart. In one of its earliest forms, the word courage meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Over time, this definition has changed, and today we typically associate courage with heroic and brave deeds. But in my opinion, this definition fails to recognize the inner strength and level of commitment required for us to actually speak honestly and openly about who we are and about our experiences, good and bad. Speaking from our hearts is what I think of as ordinary courage.
Today is the 62nd birthday of this church. Exactly. Yes, Emerson UU Church is 62 years old today. The first church service was held on October 16th, 2022, right over there in the older building. The Reverend Horace Westwood preached on dimensions of growth, and 154 children attended the Sunday school. Later that evening, an organizational meeting was held. 140 people attended. The church was officially named Emerson Unitarian Church, and the hall was officially named Westwood Hall, to the great surprise and delight of the minister. Within that first year, 217 people became charter members. One of them is here today, and that is Bub, sitting right in the middle of the congregation. He was actually here for that very first service. So thank you, Bob, and all the others who did all that hard work of founding this church. We are here because of you, and we are grateful. I know all of this from reading the church history. At least the first 50 years of it. We're a little wordy. It's been put out in 4 volumes and many, many, many pages. How many of you have read it? Oh, a little poking through, a little bit. Mostly no. It's on the website. You can read it if you want to. This was an amazing beginning, a privileged beginning. Churches do not typically start this way, with a fully built church building, a fully staffed membership. It's rare, unusual, amazing. Someone reportedly said that Emerson is the church that was born with a silver spoon in its mouth. And it's true in a way, compared to the churches that start with 5 members who met in a schoolroom or somebody's living room or something like that. This is a very different start for this church. And the story found within these pages is often one told through numbers. The number of people who attended worship services, the number of members, the number of children in the Sunday school, the number of ministers, the number of years each minister lasted, even the number of initial choir numbers. Well, sort of. There were 10 good voices to start with, which I realize doesn't actually tell us the full number of choir members. So there's a little minor mystery there. So there's nothing wrong with numbers. Numbers are important and helpful in their place, but stories, especially about churches, shouldn't be all about the numbers. It should just be a piece of the story, right? In many ways, the story that is found within the pages of this history is a story of wealth, a story of money donors, of charity given, of names of notable or important people who attended various church events. I am grateful for the people who took the time to research and write these stories, grateful for this church which exists in this amazing building, grateful for the lack of debt or mortgages of any kind, grateful for the investment committee. I know some of you are here, which does a superb job of taking care of the church's money. Grateful for all of you who are here with us today and who will be online later. And as detailed as this history is, and it is detailed, there is more to the story. Parts of the story are missing. Parts of the story are downplayed. Parts of the story are only told quietly. So this, in case you haven't already guessed it, is the part of the sermon where courage comes in. Are you ready? How many of you know the name Eugene Askew? Wave your hands in the air if you know who that is or was. Maybe 3 people, not many. Askew was the first minister of this congregation, and he lasted only 13 months, from August of 1961 to September of 1962. Why? The official history will tell you that it was due to conflict. That is true to a point, but there is more, much more to this story. This is one of those stories that has only been told quietly, if at all. The reason for the conflict is that Askew had an affair with one of the members of the church, a married woman who had charge of the Sunday school. I want to be clear, very, very clear, that the blame here lies entirely with the minister. This was a complete breach of trust, an act of ministerial misconduct, for which ministers these days would lose their fellowship, not just their jobs. And it had far-reaching consequences in the congregation, and it still does. This is what the Board of Trustees had to say about the state of the congregation on September 30th, 1962, just short of 2 years after the church with the silver spoon in its mouth was born, and just after the minister resigned and left. The basic problem, as recognized by the board, was the steady and continuing attrition of the leadership of the church, felt in the loss of enthusiasm, reluctance to carry on difficult tasks under unpleasant circumstances, aversion to attending worship services, and despair concerning the future outlook of the church. That's what the Board of Trustees' own words, own statement in September of 1962. Oh, my people, my heart hurts for you that this is a part of your story, and it shouldn't have been. It never should have been. It is not your shame. It is not your church's shame. It is the minister's and only his. This attrition, this loss of enthusiasm, this reluctance, this aversion, this despair is due to the minister's breach of trust. It is a classic reaction to ministerial misconduct, and its effects are long-lasting. People have been studying this for a long time. If someone were to write a definition of what an after-pastor church looks like and describe it, the Board of Trustees statement couldn't have done any less of a job. It's perfect, right on, classic textbook. These effects, these after effects, are long lasting, especially if no one talks about it. This kind of mistrust can live in a congregation system for decades or even longer. My first church, it lasted for centuries, dating from the Revolutionary War. Mistrust of the minister, mistrust of the board, mistrust of each other in little ways and big ways. The good news, though, is that there is not just a treatment, but a cure for this ailment. And yes, some of you have guessed it already. This is where courage comes in. The courage to talk about difficult things. The courage to talk about things in the old days people would never talk about. The courage to talk about things no one really wants to talk about. The courage to face the truth. The courage to acknowledge that harm has been done. The courage to tell a new story. Or the courage to tell the old stories in a new way. The courage to talk about trust. The courage to ask if we can trust one another. The courage to learn how to trust once again, or maybe even for the first time. Trust, this is not a surprise. Trust is actually an issue that was identified by the search team who interviewed me and put out the application materials. It was also an issue identified by the board when I first arrived, and which we talked about many times, especially in those first several months of my tenure here. And I think it is fair to say that trust is growing. I also think it is fair to say that to fully regain trust in this congregational system, courageously facing the truth of the full history of this congregation will be required. Transparency in leadership and with each other is key. Allowing ourselves, oneself, to be known is what creates trust. And allowing oneself and one's church history to be known is a place of vulnerability, isn't it? It's a very vulnerable place to be in, whether you're an individual or a group or a church. And this is why I covenanted with you from the beginning. Do you remember way back 2.5 years ago? Over 2 years ago. I have to do the math. You can see why I'm not on the investment committee. It's why I covenanted with you from the beginning, from that early church service, that I would name the hard truths as I saw them, as I understand them. So in these weeks and these months ahead, as the search committee and as you retell the story of this congregation to yourselves and to each other and to your ministerial candidates, I invite you to learn to tell the old stories in a new way. I invite you to let go of the numbers and the names and the wealth and the charity. Those stories will remain. They're not going to go away. They'll still be true. Just ease up on them a bit. The story of this congregation is made of many stories, many truths, all of which can be held at the same time. They are your stories to tell. And I invite you to consider which themes are most important in the telling, because I have heard lots and lots of stories here, and they are not all about the names and the numbers, how church membership went up or back down, about how you almost didn't make such and such campaign in terms of dollars. There are stories, which this is full of, there are stories about how you helped each other, how you rescued each other from the after effects of Hurricane Harvey. There are stories about how you care for one another with meals brought home and memorial receptions given. There are stories about teaching people to learn English. And there are stories about coming together to rebuild Houston. There are so many stories. Stories of a caring and a compassionate and a welcoming congregation that values integrity and practices ministry in so many ways. Those are your stories, not your ministers. They're yours. You own them. While we may not always practice our values perfectly, that's the point, isn't it? It's the point that we learn and grow and practice and form our faith together. We are not done. We are not already finished. We are not already complete. We are not already perfect. Yes, you're hearing a lot of process theology right now. That we build the beloved community together. This is what we do. We do it together. We build beloved community together, and to do so, we must act courageously together. And we can, and we will. Now, what stories will you lift up? What stories will you tell? They are yours. Amen, and blessed be. Now let us sing together. Rise either in body or spirit for number 205 in the gray hymnal, Amazing Grace.
Saved a wretch like me.
Through many dangers, toils, and storms have we already been. It is true. Through many dangers, toils, and storms shall we go. That is true also. Yet, we do not travel alone. We go together. We must go together. That is the purpose of our community of faith. Now, let us gather our courage, link our arms and our hearts together, and begin to tell a new story, a story filled with hope and grace, because all that is here and all that is before you too. Amen, and blessed be.
Y'all can be seated, please. I just have a few announcements before we break. First of all, I want to remind you guys that social time is here for you. We have snacks and coffee out in the gathering place and a Zoom link in the description. We also have lunch bunch today, but I don't know where we're going. Carol, would you fill me in? We're going to Beck's Prime for lunch, y'all. And they'll leave around 15 minutes after the end of the service. So if you want to be part of the lunch bunch, maybe time yourself like that. And if you're new here or if you're returning as a member, if you otherwise just want to participate in our open house, that also starts in 15 minutes upstairs in the library. You'll find me at the base of the stairs when it's time to go up. We also have an announcement from the Ministerial Search Committee. We have two. The first is that the last of 8 small group meetings is going to be today in Westwood Hall. These meetings were scheduled to help us define the congregation's hopes for the new minister and to provide a genuine and accurate portrait of the church. Everyone is welcome to attend today, whether you signed up or not, and lunch is provided there too. So once again, we have options. But next Saturday, this is the second announcement from the search committee, Reverend Keith Cron, the director of the UU's Transitions Office, will hold a workshop on beyond categorical thinking. Here at Emerson from 9 to 12:30. It's going to be in the sanctuary, and the purpose is to promote expansive thinking through the search process. A light breakfast will be provided as well as childcare, and the workshop will be available for Zoom attendees too. You should have received an email about the workshop on Friday from emersonsearch@gmail.com. That email will have a link for you to register for the workshop. That way we'll set up enough chairs and provide enough food for everyone who wants to attend. So there are your announcements, church. And now for our postlude.